Appreciate everyone being here. I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Today is a special call budget work session. Uh, and today's focus is going to be on emergency services. We'll be hearing several requests from various departments within Jackson County. I want to first just sort of state that today we will be receiving the requests. Today's not a day where we're going to be making decisions. We're not going to be going through numbers as far as trying to figure out what we can and cannot do or how we're going to pay for it. Today is purely to give y'all an opportunity to present your requests from your departments to the county, and then we're going to take all these numbers that we get today and go back and have staff to crunch the numbers, and let's try to figure out a way that we can help y'all. So I just want to make that clear up front. That's what our purpose is today, is just purely informational. Commissioner Dietz is going to be joining us just a few minutes late today, so he'll be coming in hopefully here soon, but we'll go ahead and get started. And Mr. Adams, I'll let you walk through the agenda as you normally do with our work sessions.
Yes, sir. You've already stated the purpose of today's meeting. So we do have first is Glenville Cashers Rescue Squad, Mr. Jeremy Stewart, and he's here to talk to the board in regards to EMS pay. And then the rescue squad's going to talk to the board about their new facility.
Very good.
All right. Thank you for having us here today.
Absolutely.
I've got Jim Huffman, Jeff Stewart, which is chief, Matt Turner, and Amanda Owen, chairman of the board, with me today. My big part of the letter that we sent down, I don't know if anybody's read that, but that's sort of a story behind what we're trying to do. Main thing on the EMS side, on my side, is we're looking for recruitment and retention to increase that pay. Everybody, surrounding counties have upped their pay. It comes down to competing with other services, what it comes down to. And to be able to keep some that we've got and to recruit some new ones in, that's where we're at. To increase our pay to subside for that. And also we're throwing in on the bottom of that, I don't know if that keeps in there, with the 401k. Our service has never had any type of retirement. Some of our members, our paid employees, have their personal IRAs that they've had for years. We're trying to get some benefits set for them.
Okay.
Trying to do a little better on that side. That's on my side. Any questions on that? That's about all I can say right now.
Any questions for Jeremy concerning the EMS?
I know Mr. Adams got the detailed numbers.
So, Jeremy, if you wouldn't mind, I do want to focus on just a couple things in your letter. You do have the sentence in here. Now, I found it on my letter, but then I lost it here. Bear with me one second. I apologize.
I apologize for not having a copy of that. I've been out of the office for a week and a half, down in my back.
All right. So in this paragraph here, where it talks about your district covering 150 square miles,
Yes, sir.
talks about last year you ran 996 calls, which is not as many as other agencies. However, our transport times tend to be longer.
Yes, sir.
We talked about that a little bit, but
Yep.
let's talk about this at this form here so people can understand what that sentence means.
All right, we're running right at 1,000 calls a year, which for us is quite a bit. Our call time, if we get a call, and we go pretty much anywhere we go, it's 2 hours. So I've got a truck out of service at least 2 hours. If we go from transport to mission, I've got a truck out 4 to 5 hours. So that, we run 4 calls in a day, and it's an 8-hour day. We got one truck gone all day, just on 4 calls. That's an average turnaround time. So we may not run as many as other services, but we've got a truck out of service quite a bit. Here, I guess this last year we've run third call. I don't have the numbers on third call, but that has increased substantially. Third call here. We do run 2 trucks. I don't know, some of you may know we run 2 trucks, 24/72, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So 16, 17 full-time employees.
So the other thing too, I want to point out is this paragraph in the last 5 years. Talk a little bit about your turnover rate. 50% turnover rate.
Yeah, turnover has been high. We've had some that's come in. 2016, we went to. We used to. We had 8 employees. We worked one truck. We went to 2 trucks. We had to increase that. Those employees, I don't know how many of them's gone.
50%.
But at least 50. Half of them gone. Somewhere's else. What that comes down to is more money, better benefits. I'll just be honest. I have 4 people that are local. I have to recruit from other counties, from this end of the county, and I have to. That's where this pay increase comes from. We have to compete with other services to keep good medics and to provide the service that we've been providing. That's the whole goal. That turnover rate, like I said, it's been at least 50% of it that I hired in 2016. Half of them I don't have now. Gone somewhere else to work. And the younger generation coming up out of school, it's harder. They're looking at money.
Just to throw out there, you're looking at a 4,000 to 5,000 population in the wintertime and 20,000 to 25,000 in the summertime.
Oh, yeah, it's quite a bit. Yeah.
For 8 months
Yeah.
of the year. I don't mean just 3 months.
Yeah, we're
There's a lot more people that are living there year round now.
year round now. There's more and more every year.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah, more and more stay.
Yeah.
Used to, they'd go home
Right.
during the wintertime, but everybody's staying there. So,
It's getting too
and that
crazy.
increases our call value.
Yeah.
It's getting busier every year for us. Sure is. Summertime, Mark knows all about it. It triples. It's
Any other staff questions?
No, sir. I just thought we'd point out just a
Yeah,
few of those elements.
Those are good points to make.
any other questions you got for me, I'll answer. I'm not much of a speaker, as you can tell, but I'll do the best I
Good
can.
job. Any other questions from
Jeremy,
the
you're doing
board?
better than I would.
Yeah.
I'm scared of podiums.
Well, yeah, you caught me out of my element, that's for sure. With no questions on the EMS side, I guess we move on to the facility needs.
Sir.
And that'd be Mr. Jim Huffman will be talking to you about that.
Like so I was going to Matt, just because he's more of the, there was a financial aspect which I did not address.
Mr. Knight Turner, sorry about
All
that.
right, well, Mr. Nat Turner, we'll let you.
Nat meet us.
Okay. I think y'all have a handout or material that's shown up on a schematic.
Yeah, I'll quickly go through it and you'll see what they have in there. They have the front letter, they have the aerial, then we went through basically the pictures here.
Yep.
And then ultimately the schematics on the back
Okay.
side.
Well, I think y'all have seen that. So kind of a few minutes in back history, 4 or 5 years ago, I think it started in 2016, a request was made to the county and an approval and some traction was made on a great facility right there at the crossroads in Cashiers. Unfortunately, kind of water under the bridge, some legal issues developed and some various things. And we put this on hold. Anyway, we're back with that. Now that the lawsuit's settled and the titles are all clear, what's occurred in the last 3 years since we got that original approval is growth in the city and the community has grown. As it was just pointed out with Mr. Jones, 4,000 or 5,000 people year round and numbers of 30,000. You all know the construction levels and the various growth that's occurring in Cashiers and Glenville is really ramping up. So, we have 2 full-time crews. We have 4 trucks. A large number of the time we're going into the 3rd crew. So it's, sometime in the probably not too distant future, a full-time 3rd crew will probably be needed, especially with the transport times and the growth. But what's critically needed is a new facility, the new facility to handle the 24/7 crews. Plus, in addition to the 1,000 calls or so, we have a large number of search and rescues with all the gear we have there. And it's just really time given to growth from 107 South and 64 East, 64 West. Response times into these with this great facility, this great location we have right there near the crossroads, is to get that project underway. In the last 6 months, we've gone back. We had a very competitive bid process a few years ago, so we've really reactivated all that. Selfishly, I'm just retired as president of the Boys and Girls Club, so we used the crew that we were going to originally build a facility here to do that at the Boys and Girls Club, and the project came in on schedule, on budget, and such. So we basically looking to do the same type thing with this new facility. So the current estimates for this new building, 9,200 square feet, are right at $4.5 million. 4 bays, ample space for current crews plus growth in the crews and the gear. We have a $335,000 note for the first lien on it for the original property, so that would obviously have to get rolled into the financing. So we're probably looking at somewhere 4.8, call it 5.9. We will have more firm bids numbers for June, but this right now is talking with Heather. This is a cost plus, not to exceed type thing, and it's the well vetted crew. We have done some preliminary assessments with the loans, and right now, if we did it, it would be in the low fours. Unfortunately, with the Fed and all this, we're probably looking. We've been advised by both institutions that we're probably 4.8 and 5. The preliminary terms we're getting put us typical construction loan, interest only for the period, reverting to a 20 to 24 year amortization with a 7-year balloon or reset, which is fairly typical. So we'll have more in a couple of months. Just some very, I feel very strong. We feel very strong that those numbers are going to hold. So that's where we are.
So what is the timing of the request, Mr. Turner? Meaning, it's being presented to the board now. We can talk about details, but what is you mentioned in a couple months, what is your proposed timeline of construction going out to bid?
We are ready. We are right now with our engineer going back and reevaluating all the MEPs, getting the plans up to current because we're 3 years removed. We've already looked at fast tracking the equipment ordering. So as soon as there would be a budget approval, we feel we can get back underway.
So what was the original? What was the original approved amount? Do you remember?
Yeah, the original number was right at 2. I mean, 2, 3 or something like that. And we spent a lot of time looking at that with the formal general contractor, and that number never would have held. It would have been an overrun.
So I know we all know this, but we're also now YouTubing and other people watch this later. So sometimes I state the obvious or things that we already know, but so people can kind of follow along with this conversation. So previously, Jackson County had approved off of the $2.3 million loan for construction. And so, as you stated earlier, just due to some issues, that's been delayed, and now we're back to this project. So I just want to be sure then the new request is $4.8 to $4.9 million.
That's correct.
The same layout as what was originally planned, or is
We've made some modifications to it. That's underway right now. It's about 600 more square feet that would provide a larger command center and things for emergency responses and that type of thing. So effectively, it's the same. It's the same footprint, but 12% more, 10% more space.
same location?
Exact same location. Right. Yeah. Right there. And just stating the obvious, we're seconds from the crossroads, which with the growth in call volume, this is clearly a place we need to be.
Other questions from the board members about this project?
Thank you all.
All right, thank you, Mr. Turner.
Thank you.
Anything else for item 1 from Glenville Cashers? Anything else you want to say, Jeff?
There was a sewer, on the sewer issue.
Okay. So
I saw that on the letter.
does somebody want to speak to that?
again, thank you for having this meeting and giving us an opportunity
Absolutely.
to address some of these things. On the sewer issue, we have permission from the school board. Talked to Mr. Buchanan day before yesterday, and if we could employ your services to get in touch with their attorney, they just want an agreement drawn up between us and the school board that if something happens, we'll be responsible for fixing it, as well as they're wanting to charge us an amount per month. I'm assuming that Mr. Buchanan didn't go into detail on that. But would that be something possible that we could get drawn up, an agreement between us and them?
I can definitely get you in touch with their attorney. Let me check.
Yeah, she's waiting for your call, is what Mr. Buchanan said.
So, but I don't want to speak for attorney, but realize we'll talk about the legality of who you can I mean, we can assist, but we got to
Yeah.
make sure we understand the clear lines between assisting and representation. So,
Right. I'll help you get in touch, but you may need your own attorney, but we'll reach out. Let's reach out to her and see.
Just see what kind of agreement we need to come up with, and we're getting some estimates on that project. But what's the guy's name that does the layout?
Victor Lofquist.
Victor is involved. Some of the guys have talked to him as we talked previously.
So just to put all this in context, just so that everybody, again, I know seems like the obvious, but I just want to make sure we all understand. There we go. Y'all bear with me. Is there any questions, Mr. Chairman, while we're?
Is the system failing or
Yeah.
it is failing?
Yeah, it's the county come out and looked at it and said, this is what you need to do. And we've been in the process of, they put in the new system over there, so we had to wait until the grant finalized, whatever. So that's been took care of, so now we're in the process of proceeding with that project.
So doing the way you're doing now, tying into the school line is going to save a ton of money, basically, right?
It's going to get our system to where it's working.
So,
But I mean, if you have to get a new hookup, don't they usually charge you a fortune for that?
We're, if I may speak,
Yeah.
we're on our last option. We don't have another option.
There is not another
There
option.
is no other option.
Okay.
so just again, for everybody's knowledge, let me zoom out to make sure we know where we're at. We're at Blue Ridge School, Cashers,
Yeah.
to the south. There's the end of Lake Glenville. So as we zoom in, what we're talking about now is we're talking about their existing facility, which is located next to Blue Ridge School. Just a reminder to everybody, the county worked with the schools. We ended up getting a CDBG grant to come and replace the water tower that used to be here with a pump system to provide water to the schools. And then we came in and built a 10,000 gallon a day treatment package for sewer here. Its primary purpose was to serve the school itself. And that's when we were going through the CDBG program, that was what it was for, serve the school. But we made sure we sized it well enough to hopefully meet the needs of the school for now and the future, and then also potential needs from the rescue squad itself. And so my conversations with the rescue squad was I wanted to make sure they reached out to the school. I've asked them to bring Victor Lofquist in this. This is a capacity conversation about making sure that there's enough capacity reserved for the school system for now and in the future. So, for example, Mark talking about expanding out for the gymnasium and expanding out for the classrooms. You have to take those types of things into consideration when you start talking about providing access to the sewer. So that is why we're talking about, I'd request that they all go back to Victor Lofquist, who was the engineer for this facility, and they need to start talking about reserving capacity for each other. And I believe that's gonna, you and I talk a little bit, I think that's where eventually the contract is gonna have to be worked out between the school system and the rescue squad in regards to how much capacity can the school system give, and does that meet the rescue squad's needs. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I believe, is it in this facility or here, the sleeping quarters? This one?
This,
The one with the green roof.
yeah.
The green, okay, I'm sorry. The green roof. So ultimately, the attempt here, long term, is there's going to be potentially additional requests and conversations about modifications needed to occur in these sleeping quarters. And these sleeping quarters cannot be utilized for various reasons. One of the reasons is you don't have access to adequate sewer. Okay. But once, if and when the rescue squad can work out with the school to get adequate sewer capacity here, then there would be additional conversations about the modifications needed to this facility to upgrade or basically make it where these sleeping quarters can be utilized. And that is that a good summary of everything? And so I think that's just something that you were wanting to let everybody know that we're having conversations.
Yes,
All right.
yeah. Mr. Buchanan said there'd be no problem with getting that approved. It's just through the legal aspects of getting that done.
And so if you do get the capacity, what are the next steps? What are your plans about that facility? Meaning, are you going to have an engineer look at, or are you going to come up with the cost estimate for upgrades?
Yes,
Or-
the
okay.
cost estimate. We're getting prices on getting the system put in right now. They're working on that.
With the system, as far as the sewer system, but what about, is there upgrades on the facility itself?
On the facility, we're in, Mr. Allen has looked at that and we'll come up with a price on fixing that.
So to be clear to the board, then that would be an additional request that you may bring back before the board, or is that going to be
Yes.
handled differently?
Yes, we would probably in the future come back,
Not this cycle.
not this cycle, but in the future.
Okay.
Any questions on
I'm
that?
sure when you get with Victor that and when the conversation comes to capacity, we'll take in consideration the new facility and what usage, maybe one of your teams and one of the two teams members that you might have to, you might relocate two staff at the new facility before you get your third staff. So my thought is just keep that
Yeah.
movement of capacity needs, because you might reduce your bedrooms down to a lower number.
Anything else? Okay. Thank you.
Is that everything from Glenville Cashers?
Yes, it-
All right. Well, thank y'all so much. Appreciate your service to the community and all the great work y'all do.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much.
And maybe see some of you later tonight.
Possibly.
They come to mind all the time.
Okay, I guess we're going to move next to item 2, which is the grant match request for the fire departments and rescue squads. And do you have these in any particular order, Mr. Adams? Do you want
Apparently I do not.
to? Okay.
And so, I do not, so I just,
Okay.
whoever wishes to volunteer.
There's anyone here from Unit 1? I think they're on a different, from what I understand, they're on a different grant cycle than what the fire, okay, that's what I didn't realize that till the other day.
He sent me an email telling me everybody's gonna be here.
And all that was in alphabetical order.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess we'll just start here at the front row. We'll just start with Quala. Chief Moore. And this, what they're presenting to us now is where the board confirmed the other day that we would match the state grant. This is the state grant for equipment, up to $60,000, be 30 state, 30 local match. And so they're presenting the request that they have submitted.
Thank you.
I'll wait till everybody gets a copy there. According to what some of them's asking for, we've been talking, I've not asked for enough. But we'll we already worked on this year, so that's why it's gonna be this, but, this year, we'll be purchasing 3 full sets of fire deck turnout gear, along with washer and dryer. And, the turnout gear has gone up. The same gear we bought last year was a different brand. It's gone up like $2,000 since last year. So we went back to the fire deck, which wasn't quite as expensive. So I mean, that's the way this stuff's going. It's crazy prices and stuff from year to year, and all these guys are involved. I'm involved. Let me tell you about all this stuff. The amount of our grant is $22,569.50. It's 50-50 grant, of course, through the state. Our department our part will be $11,284.75. And of course, we have to pay all that up front, and then the grant is refunded back to us through the state. The conversation says here of our packs, Montgomery County departments, cost our department 3 years of service life on our bottles right now. Our department made the decision to shift the focus to wash and dryer because of the cancer aspect. Those of you that are involved in this know this. The FEMA and everybody looks at this and the carcinogens that get on the fire gear and the smoke and everything we deal with. Cancer is a big issue. Maybe not so much as us as pay departments, but we still have to deal with it. So we're looking at purchasing a NFPA approved washer and dryer, wash gear, clean the gear, get all the bad junk off of it, of course, after we use it. And, that's what we're looking at this year. We've applied for on the grant is washer and dryer. And I may need it because I had to fight fire the other day. It's odd to see the chief having to fight fire, so I don't usually have to do that. We'll give you some figures down there at the bottom on the firefighters' line of deaths nationwide due to cancer. The number of firefighters that have been diagnosed with cancer here in North Carolina, down there at the bottom. So that's our presentation.
Thank you very much. Any questions?
How much would you say to turnout gear?
I think 35 just for the coat, the jacket, boots.
3,500
Looking at right at $3,500
for one set.
for one full set. That's from helmet to boots. I included a copy of our grant, our application, and it has each individual price breakdown for each piece of equipment that comes with the full set.
And you just need 3.
We got 3 this go around.
This
Correct.
year.
This go
Outfit,
around.
co-outfit.
To catch up to where we're at to make sure we have gear to cover everything.
Yeah, we
else.
could use a lot more, but that's just what we need this year. Not no problem.
Any other questions? And like he said, indicated, there's a copy of their grant application here in this packet, and on the last page will be a list of the equipment with the costs for each of the items that they've applied for. All right. If not, then Canada Fire Department, Chief McCall.
How's everybody doing this evening?
Good.
How about you?
Our biggest thing that we're going to put on the grant is, hold on, let me pass these out so you can see.
Thank you so much.
But our biggest thing that we're going to put on the grant is our packs. We're going to put 6 of them on there. I got it. There's a breakdown on the very back page back there. Total cost was $60,000. Our part of it would be 30. It's just we got several of them. We got 6 of them that's going out of there. So we're just gonna put that many more on the go and get them updated, the new pass devices and all that stuff. That's about all we got in there.
What kind of air packs are y'all getting?
We are going with the MSA G1, the 4500. Yep. We now have I think their Survive Air. They got the 2216, which is a 30-minute bottle. We're going to get everything to the same. All of our trucks will be the same pack, same air bottle. That way, if you get a pack off of one truck and you need another bottle, you're right there close to another truck, you can just grab that bottle and put it on and go.
And I'll mention this, and I know we'll hear more about this later from other departments, but Air Packs, the SCBA itself is good as long as there are parts that are manufactured and that can be placed on them. You can have, if something a regulator goes bad or a computer board or whatever, as long as they've got those parts that they can fix them, then those packs don't really have a shelf life like a bottle or some of those other components. But one of the problems that we run into here with a lot of our departments is Survive Air, the company went out of business. And so they no longer even manufacture anything. So all those packs that departments all across North Carolina and the Southeast have bought, those packs now are obsolete because there's not a way to get pieces. So that's why they're having to upgrade to this a completely new manufacturer.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. These Survivors, we got, I think there's 4 of these that's going to be, we can't get parts for them anymore. So we've been dealing with this for the past several years. We put we decided to go with MSA. That's what we put on the grants before. That's what we're going to switch to, all of them, on all of our trucks. Bottles, extra bottle. It's broke down in that back of the grant there, what each one of them costs. But that's pretty much it for us.
Any questions for Chief McCollum?
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And please tell Tina that her former teacher says hello.
Okay, I think we'll go next with Savannah Fire Department, Chief Green.
The way everything's going up in cost, that some of these prices we've got may not even cover. It's unreal. We checked on the price of a fire truck, same truck we bought in 2019. Right now, it went up $65,000 from what we bought one in 2019. It's unreal. But back to this grant deal, we've got turnout gear stuff here, and the turnout gear washer and dryer with, just like Kent said, with all the cancer things. They're really talking about that, and it's a real problem. So if a person's going to give their time and volunteer for Jackson County, we need to take the best care of them we can, and that's our deal on this. I know the rest of this is basically, thermal imaging cameras. If y'all have ever, and Brian may have done this, if you've ever crawled in a burning house and you couldn't see the hand in front of your face when you hear the fire burning but you don't know where it's at, that's where your thermal imaging cameras can save your tail. So we want to try to get that, make sure our people are safe. I know Brandon.
It's a camera, Tom. It's infrared, and it picks up heat, and you can literally
see the fire.
Put it up and see the fire. You could lay your hand down on this table here and pull it up, and then I can see the heat signature where it leaves it. So it
Really?
gives you the ability to see fire in another room, or if you're looking into an attic space to try to see, or in a wall, or there's a lot of applications. It's
Shows you the temperature, so that's why you can detect it.
So that is great for like before the roof will cave down on the firefighters.
Yeah.
You can see that heat.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
I know,
Every bit worth $4,000.
Brandon used one on the Bogarts fire down here, and that's the only way they could really find where the fire was at. You could hear it burning, but you couldn't see it. So it's a safety thing for the firemen, and you know, we all work together. We can't do it by ourselves. It takes all departments in the county to do what we do. So, you know, if we need it in Silva, Qualla, Savannah, we're going to use it. And Brian knows we all work together. And the rest of this stuff on here is basically, well, we got a few sections of fire hose that we've got some old hose we need to replace. And the rest of it is basically turnout gear, coats, boots, helmets, gloves, stuff like that. So it's with all of our requirements through the state, we've got to keep up with all this stuff. So plus we've got to keep our people safe, and that's the most important thing to us.
Got to keep y'all safe too.
Yeah. This total on this grant's $54,608. So our part's $27,304. So that's it'd be a big help to us if y'all could come up with it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Okay. Balsam Fire Department. We'll let the Assistant Chief, Chuck Irwin.
Thank y'all for having us.
Our captain left to go on a call, so.
Him on the fire departments, yeah.
Did you?
So we have applied for SCBA bottles. We've got 47 total bottles in our fire department, and 40 of those bottles expire this coming year. The bottles that we have are 15-year bottles that we currently have, and the ones that we have applied for have a 30-year lifespan, so they've got twice the amount of time, which they cost a little bit more, but it's all worth that when you're getting double the time.
Let me say for the board, for those that don't know, when we talk about these bottles for air packs, these are made out of a fiber. It's like a fiberglass, and it's spun around a cylinder, so it's a much lighter bottle. Traditionally years ago, the bottles were all metal, and they were heavy, and it just added extra weight to the firefighter. And when you add weight and all that extra, then it creates much harder load and puts more stress on the individual. So the industry went to a fiber carbon bottle several years ago, and that lightened up the weight of the bottles, but it also has a life expectancy. So you trade off, but for the lightweight bottles, which are better, that's what all departments have gone to.
So there's 40 bottles that we need to replace to keep up with NFPA standard. 28 of the Scott face piece masks that we have with the air packs, we decided on those because the ones that we have now are not up to NFPA standard as these new ones will bring it up to the 2018 NFPA standard. So, and we have also one RIT bottle that we were going to add to that also, because that was one of the original bottles that we got with the other 47. That one will also expire next year also. So our total was $58,900 for all of these items.
And just for the board's sake and for the public that may not know, when we talk about a RIT bottle, what that is it's a much larger air pack bottle cylinder, and it comes in a pack or a kit that's got extra hoses, and it's called a rapid intervention team. And so you have that system set up to where you have a team outside ready if a firefighter goes down in a structure, they run out of air, they have a compromised air system, they can take that bottle and go in with it and take an extra hose and hook up to their firefighter and give them some air to breathe to help get them out. So it's a tool used, it's a huge safety device to where we provide that in case, God forbid, that ever was to happen. And those bottles have life expectancy, just like the small air pack bottles.
Right.
15. Yeah. Any other questions for Chuck? Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
And I think that's everybody that submitted the state grant, this grant cycle. Am I correct? Yeah. All right. So I think that takes care of everything with item 2.
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Adams, you want to offer any additional comments?
Just a reminder to everybody, this was offering to the fire departments to help with the match for personal protective equipment. That's what's been presented to the board today. And Darlene, would you, as far as the 50% match of what's been presented, what is the total now?
$98,039.
So that's it. Ready to move to the next one? All right.
Mr. Davis?
There was 4 requests, correct?
Correct.
3 of them was for the maximum, pretty much, wasn't it?
Correct.
And one of them was for $36,000 less than the maximum. That's y'all. Should we allow them to look back and see if there's something else?
The grant's already been submitted.
All right. There you go.
I can give explanation why ours is less if the board would like.
Sure.
No, well, yeah.
So there are other grants within the state system that we can utilize. You have the state rescue grant. We were fortunate enough to get the state Forest Service grant this year at Quala. So we have quite a bit of money already tied up in other grants prior to this state fire grant. So we put at the cap of what we can afford to spend out of our pocket before we knew about the matching funds from the county. So that's why we're sitting at the 22 some odd thousand on the fire grant right now. So that's we've, like I said, we still have quite a bit tied up in other grants, waiting on those checks to come through. With shipping delays in the rescue grant, we're still waiting on radios from the rescue grant and a medical skid unit for a UTV to come in. So once that gets here, we can get that submitted, and that'll free up that money, and that'll open us up more for more options. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that explanation.
So yes, sir. We're ready to move. The next item of discussion is I'd asked Ms. Fox to just give the board a summary of county funding for both fire and rescue operations. Obviously, you see number 4 is we do have the town of Silva to come and talk to the board about fire operations there. But I just thought it would be good for us to see a summary of how we fund everything before we get into those discussions.
The first block is fire operations. The total budget on it's $2,658,559. And then we have the fire tax, that's for Cashiers Glenville Fire Department, and Highlands Fire Department. That amounts $1,875,170. That is a total for fire operations of $4,533,729. And then we have ambulance and rescue squad. That total is $3,073,475. So the total for all the emergency service operations is $7,607,204. Be glad.
Back there, just a minute. Back up, please. Okay.
Be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions? This is just a general overview of what's in our current budget.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Fox.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item, we do have Ms. Dowling here, Silvertown Manager, and she can introduce other guests here to discuss fire operations for the town of Silva and the Silva Fire District.
Nice to see Mayor Sossman here.
All right, Mayor.
Thank you all for having us. I'm going to let Chief Beck talk about the operational piece of this. Our request is to the county to fund the paid personnel for our split paid volunteer fire department. And then I'll talk about the budget.
Okay. Thank y'all for listening to us today anyway.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Paige. You
You want to control it? You want me to control it?
I don't have any way to control it either.
Sure, I can give you that.
Oh, go ahead. Just move it over one. The first slide that we came up, y'all, I think you already have a package of this in there, so I'm just going to touch on the highlights. I'm not going to read it word for word. That just shows the insurance district as it is, as far as Silva and now the town of Silva, Webster, and Dillsboro, and also our county district, which is it's all in the county district, all in the county. Okay.
Let me just clarify here again. I know we try to do this for make sure people understand what we're seeing. The Department of Insurance establishes these maps,
Correct.
And the county commissioners approve them. That's how the state process works. And it's measured from the door of the fire station out 6 miles. There's 2 districts. There's a 5 mile and then there's a 6 mile district. So that's why you see these different colors. That's basically starting in Silva where their station is and going outwards road miles to determine who's within those districts.
Okay. So, thank you, Brian. The next slide is the mutual aid, automatic aid agreements we have with the adjoining departments. And actually, we go countywide. We have agreements with everybody in the county. We also have agreements with Haywood and Swain County and Macon County and so on. And that just kind of shows where we lay as far as where our district is. As you see, it's centrally located between the lower end of the southern or the northern end of the county. So we go in every direction. Okay, and then the next thing we'll talk about is the real reason we're here. Currently, we have 33 volunteers on our roster. We have 2 people out 8 to 5 that y'all know about them, are all district coordinators. And then you can see that our average response, 8 to 5, is between 4 and 10 people, and that's including us. That's if you have an actual fire. You don't get as many on wrecks and things like that. It's usually just us, be honest about it. And then the 5 to 12, you're looking at 5 p.m. to 12 a.m., you're looking at 5 to 12 volunteers usually. And then from 12 to 8, 12 p.m. or a.m. to 8 a.m., it's 2 to 5 people it's thin. And that's why we're discussing this today. And then there we got the graph that shows the amount of calls and how it works. Monday through Friday, as you see, we got 36% of the calls during that time period. And then when there's nobody there after 5 p.m., it's 64% of the calls. And then we get on down here, it's talking about the OSHA policies of having 2 in and 2 out, meaning you have to have 2 outside for every 2 that go into a structure fire. That's a OSHA requirement. It's also an NFPA requirement. And then the bottom of that's really what's important, response time. By response time, I'm meaning how long it takes to get the truck rolling. Obviously, if we're at the station, much faster. If we have to come, the nearest person to our station comes to get a truck, you're looking at a minimum probably 6 minutes before they get out the door with the truck. And that's a long time. And then the other benefits of us having a staff station, we'd have the ability to further expand our medical response to the EMS. We do first responder response with them and help them with heart attacks and life-threatening emergencies. And also it would enable us to keep our hydrant records all more up to date, which is important on the rate. Mr. Bryan can attest to that. And then right now we're currently an ISO class 5, and we'd like to get lower. What's kept us from going lower in years past is the amount of attendance, meaning we don't have enough people on the scene. NFPA does score it. Yeah. Score it kind of strange to me, but this is how they do it. Takes 4 volunteers to equal 1 paid guy. So that's what you're looking at, and that's another reason we're talking about needing people. The thing about volunteers right now, there's a lot of people would do it, but their employers pretty much got out of the mode of letting anybody leave to go to fires. Used to 20, 30 years ago, wasn't a problem. Now it is. And that's why a lot of people don't volunteer at fire departments. They can't. They're not allowed to. Not to keep a job. So you got to feed the family. So that's more important. Used to, we had a waiting list of people to get on the department. That's not the case anymore. Anybody in this business can tell you that. You have to go out and hunt people, and then you're lucky if you get anybody.
Mr. Beck, you and I were talking and regarding the staff and the classifications for insurance of the distance. I think we saw that map earlier. And I think the Civil Fire Department missed out on a lower classification due to the fact of you had the bodies there, but they weren't all trained firemen. Is that?
Well, like I say, they count 4 volunteers. It takes 4 volunteers to equal 1 paid guy. We just didn't have the people there. We didn't have enough volunteers on the scene.
And I spoke to a local insurance person, and the commercial side of savings, if that next classification objective was met, would be anywhere from $50 to $250 to $300 a year savings for each business. I didn't get into the large businesses, just the small business, and then also the residential folks would, if you're 1,500 feet from a fire hydrant, and correct me if I'm wrong here, they would also see a savings. So that kind of limits the savings to residential really to TWASA's service area, water service area.
Which we're lucky there, because TWASA's pretty well got us covered. So that does help us a lot. But like I say, now we don't have a waiting list to join anymore, and that's why I'm here. Self-employed. The next thing is up there to break down the calls for service in 2018, and that just shows what we do in percentage. And you see the total up there on that one is 766. To give you an example, in 1995, which is the first year I was fire chief, we ran 255 calls all year. So you can see it's increased probably 3-fold. So that's the other reason I'm here. It's getting a lot faster volunteers. It just really is. And then the next one is 2019, and it's more or less the same. Then I think the next one's going to come up to 20, and you see it went down. That was the COVID year. Okay, the reason it went down is because nobody, when this all started, and you all think back to when it started, nobody knew what the effect of the virus was going to be, or how easy it's going to be to catch, or anything. So all of the fire departments in the county, we reduced our responses. We call it, could be a COVID response or something like that, because we didn't want to have to quarantine the whole fire department and not have a fire department. So that's the reason that went down. Now that we know a little bit more about it, you notice they're going to increase a little bit here in a minute. But as we know a little bit more about it, we've got a little more looser on our responses and not been so tight on it. Because, like I say, we're a fire department, so we really couldn't take a chance on shutting the entire fire department down going on a medical call. I know that's a hard way to look at it, but that's really the truth. And this next slide is just call volume countywide for each fire department. And that give you an idea of where everybody stands on that. And it's by the years color coded. And then this next one's going to be a big question, I'm sure. Amount of responses in town versus county. And you see we do 37% in the town. The rest of it, 63% is out in the county. What we call out in the county is out in that county district I showed you earlier. Of course, we do have in our district most of the commercial property in Jackson County. And so, and a lot of that is outside town limits now. And then this next slide, that's just a breakdown of the cost per area. That includes the Silvertown. Silver Rural would be the county district. Then it says Dillsburg and Webster. That's the towns of Dillsburg and Webster. And then also the mutual aid to the other fire departments. Now I think that just kind of touches on the value of the properties. Like I said earlier, there we do have the most commercial property in our district. It's in the county. And then this next slide, I'm on the page to talk about a little bit. If y'all have any more questions for me.
Any questions for Chief Beck concerning operations on their responses?
I do want to point out that what did stick out a little bit is that mutual aid number right there. As the board starts having conversations about whether or not, obviously, it warrants full-time or not, but then you start talking about it. It's very similar last year when you had the conversations about COLA-WE and about mutual aid. And I do think that chart stuck out a little bit. Just want to point that out.
It's not, and we've had this conversation last year, and I'll just reiterate it again. It's not, if there's a call in Silva and it's a fire, it's just not Silva Fire Department going.
No,
it's going to be a whole host of other departments because there is no way you can provide enough manpower or water to meet the state's requirements.
Right.
With just one department. That's why you have all these mutual aids.
Well, it's pretty much a requirement to keep our ratings that everybody has automatic mutual aid, which is 3 departments. Plus, you usually get EMS. Okay.
One question.
Yeah, Bo.
You said 36% of the fires is when you had 2 people with the department.
Mm-hmm.
And 37% was when, no, what was it, 67%?
67.
Was after hours that they weren't there.
Right.
Maybe they ought to be working the other time instead of this time.
Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, you can put them.
67%
Yeah.
calls for 30%.
Yeah, but that's because it's a lot more time period. You're looking at what, 16 hours versus 8 hours.
Just wondering.
I mean, you can move them there and it'd still be the same probably. If you pull it around the other way, it'd probably just be going.
Same.
I would say it would be. When you move it around, you can put them in where you want them.
During the day then?
Well, the same amount of calls. You see what I'm saying? That's your staffed hours. Okay, if we look at staffed hours, say from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m., just because that's easy numbers, it would probably work out about the same percentages. I would think it would.
The other thing in that is the blue shows Monday to Friday, 8 to 5. So it's got 5 of the 7 days a week.
Oh, so the weekend, I see what you're saying.
It doesn't say anything on the weekend, yeah.
Right, okay.
Was it important that the 2 always be there together?
But
They always are together?
yes, it kind of defeats the purpose if we don't.
Does it?
Yeah. That was the whole purpose of getting the second coordinator. Because one person can't really do a whole lot by themselves. You know that, you've been in it as far as pulling hose or whatever, you know. I know it says the 2 in, 2 out rule, but obviously if we roll up on a fire, we're going to go ahead and pull the hose and everything and get the truck going before everybody else gets there. And it does make a big difference. No. No, we're not going to do that, Tom.
Any other questions? All right, we'll hear from Ms. Dowd.
Let Ms. Page talk now. I'm going to take my stuff here.
I'm going to take your stuff.
You go take
Don't
it.
mind. Thank you. So, because I can't see very well.
Yeah, we're working on trying to come up with a better podium. After I got up there and realized how hard it was to see, we've decided to get a new podium.
It's not the podium, it's my eyesight.
Well, no, it's my eyesight too, but we're gonna get a podium with a screen in it, so you can look down and see.
You can look at the screen.
Oh, that would be handy.
Yeah. You can't see that, I promise you.
No. So we think currently the fire department's budget this fiscal year is $494,378. And roughly that's $200,000 coming from the town, and then the remainder of that coming from the county, Dillsboro, and Webster. So this request is for an additional $805,255 from the county to cover the cost of personnel. And that's for 12 full-time employees. Now, the county already contributes a significant amount to the Silva Fire Department, which we really appreciate. We're requesting in the future, in order to do this, $1,171,728, which would continue what the county is currently paying, the cost of the personnel, and then the difference in what the town would give this current year versus next year is the pay-per call, which you all picked up in the last fiscal year budget. Any questions?
Now, I know you said this, Ms. Dowling, but so what do we currently give you from the county?
So let me jump in right here. So we currently do that's the reason I can also pull that other budget up to show you. We currently do the loan reimbursement of that $150,775. We do annual contribution of $121,398. We started doing the pay-per call here recently. That's the other $25,000. So I believe that's what we currently allocate.
Not the 805, that's the new
805,
request.
No. And so that's what we currently allocate. And then she mentioned that because of the budget, there's a shortfall here. And this gets a little complicated because there's multiple revenue sources is the problem. So let's go to the top, the total fire budget. If you go through all the line, when you go back and look at all these line items, the total fire budget, regardless of revenue source, is $1,393,933. That is the request proposal. And then ultimately what's happening here is she's trying to take into consideration all of the other revenues. So this would be Dillsboro still contributing, Webster still contributing, Silva still contributing, and then the county contributing our current amounts. And then it looks like this is sales tax reimbursement and some miscellaneous stuff. And so by taking out these existing revenue sources, that leaves a current shortfall of 805. But if you put back in what we're already funding, then that turns into a $1,171,728 versus what we're currently funding. So it's additional $805,000 above what we're funding, which would leave a total funding amount from the county of $1,171,000. Maybe that's another way to look at it, because we're already funding the difference between those two numbers. Does that help? Is that
Yes.
correct?
Thank you.
Any other budget questions? Or questions for Mike? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank y'all.
Are there any other presentations?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you have any other additional?
Ultimately, I do just want to, when we talk about the potential revenue sources. So let me just go back to this number here. So just to make some statements so the board, you as a board member can start thinking in terms of this. Obviously, the first item here is whether or not you feel it's justified to go full-time. So that's obviously not necessarily being decided today, but that's where you got to be, start these revenue conversations. Once, if the board has decided that you believe they need to go full-time and you want to participate financially, then it starts becoming, how would you pay for it? And so there's basically two ways to pay for it, and staff will be ready to come back with variations of numbers of however you want to see it. But basically, there's two ways to pay for this type of service, and that is general fund dollars, monies out of our general fund, and that is the reason we tried to provide you in your booklets. That's why we gave you our current funding mechanisms, those budgets that Darlene showed you, so you can go back and look at that. And when you go back and look at that, all but the ones that are fire taxes that are with Cashers and Highlands, those all come out of our general fund dollars. The other way is some type of service tax. And if you choose to go towards some type of service tax, then you have to define the service area. And so that could be the fire service area that the chief was just showing you, okay? It could be, there could be conversations about what that service area would be. And then obviously what would happen is if you tax that service area directly, then you have to discuss what that tax rate would be and so forth. And so really, I'm just reminding you, that was somewhat the conversation that was being held last year, and those are really the two mechanisms for funding if we choose to move forward. And then this one gets a little bit more complicated because we have towns involved in these conversations. And so if you choose to go, say, a service area, okay, if that's somewhere we were trying to lean, you wanted to see the numbers there. Well, the towns, they have to choose to participate. They would have to agree and choose to participate in that service area if you went that route. And I can explain all that later, but just so you know, that's what makes this a little bit different than maybe last year's conversation, is you do have other governing bodies that would have that would have to be willing to participate in that type of service area conversation. So that's, in general terms, I'm just trying to get those ideas and concepts for the board to start thinking about. If you got any specific questions or things of that nature, or if you can think of anything before the next time we meet on this, please let me know. That'll help me and the staff to put together the information you might want to see.
And a service district could be both fire and rescue?
Yes, sir. And that is also why I showed you, it can be fire, rescue, and EMS.
So as we look at all the requests that we received here today, that might be a potential conversation that we want to have as far as a total response district that would cover all those. That's an option that we could look at.
And having gone through the Cashers Glenville fire tax issue, there's a timeline and public hearing, and Mr. Adams, you want to touch on that for all of us?
Yes, sir. So if the board wishes to pursue a service tax conversation, basically it would require a public hearing to be held. It requires multiple steps. It requires for you to make certain findings to determine what the service area is going to be. You create a service map and things of that nature. It's things that can be done. That can be done relatively quickly, like within a meeting or so. But that information must be available a month before the public hearing. So ultimately, if you wish to proceed forward with a service tax conversation within this fiscal year, ultimately what that means is you would need to be prepared to have meetings in April to really discuss and vet that out, because you would need to make that determination by the 1st of May. So that is the timeline if you wish to choose to move forward with a service tax concept. So what that really means is, we'll probably put this, when we start talking about meeting in April, we'll probably need to meet and just start having some conversations whether or not we need special call meetings or not in April, if the board wishes to proceed forward with a service tax conversation.
Any other questions? All right, any other business, anything else that we need to take care of today?
Yes, sir.
Like I said earlier, today was just to give our departments an opportunity to present their requests, and we'll take these into consideration through our budget process. All right, hearing none, then do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, is there a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank y'all for coming.